Hi Sana, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for joining the show.
My pleasure.
Sana, you are an advocate and I used to see every cuttings and newspapers and all that. I recently saw the NDTV new videos as well. So the recent case, Mrs. Mukherjee case. So you applied for bail and all that. What's the current status about this case?
Yes. In Rani Mukherjee's case we're talking about,
Yeah.
I'm about to move Supreme Court for her bail. Currently, the status of her trial is that there are about 253 witnesses. 67 witnesses have been examined and 185 witnesses are yet to be examined. She is behind the bars since more than 6 years. So we are about to approach Supreme Court for her bail application. So let's hope for the best.
So you think that bail will be...
I'm hopeful that we'll get relief from the Supreme Court.
Inshallah. And on the other hand, NCB had caught this 20% in Aryan Khan drug case, and many people were there. And the first person, Arvind Sahu, your client, got the first bail.
Basically, the whole allegation, the major allegation in that case was that of conspiracy. So it was very difficult for anyone to get bail in that case because they had invoked Section 29 of the NDPS Act. So when, just a day prior to my bail application, Aryan's bail was rejected, and the role of Aryan's case and my case was absolutely similar. So I had to distinguish my role from Aryan's role during my bail argument.
So everyone got the bail, but Aryan Khan didn't got the. मतलब he NCB ने 3 अक्टूबर को पकड़ा आर्यन खान को and he got the bail I think on 30th October.
Media has actually created a very huge hype around that case, and obviously, I mean, against him, there was evidence of WhatsApp chats, incriminating WhatsApp chats, which got clarified in the High Court judgment. I mean, the High Court has passed a favourable order. Basically, yes, it took him quite a long time actually, though the allegations were not that grave. I mean, no possession, no recovery. Nothing was recovered from his possession. So despite of that, yes, he was incarcerated for quite a long time.
And on this Aryan Khan case, I do have some kind of questions for you, which kind of Janta wanna ask you. So shall we take that questions?
Yes.
Okay, so the main prime question is this Aryan Khan case got publicity because he was a celebrity. So do you believe that there are more innocent teenagers being kept in jail unnecessarily for drug consumption?
Yes, absolutely. It does happen that people are incarcerated just for consumption, though there are sections like 64A of the NDPS Act, which provides immunity from prosecution, who are voluntarily who voluntarily want to undergo de-addiction.
Right.
So in such cases, I believe that long incarceration is not required, considering especially if there are no antecedents. So it becomes really unfair, and in this case, one of my submissions during my argument was also that this case, like especially for my client, though my client was the first person to get bail in this case, but he was made a scapegoat in this case because it had become high profile. He was unnecessarily being subjected to.
The case, Arvind Sahu got the bail from a session court.
Sessions
and
court,
how
yes.
your reaction was like?
It was incredible. I mean, of course, I'm very grateful to the Honorable Special NDPS Court because of course the conspiracy was leveled against all the accused. So during my arguments, my main task was to actually destroy the theory of conspiracy. That how there was no independent material and how prior meeting of minds was not established. And how just by the virtue of being on the cruise does not establish conspiracy. Just because he was on the cruise, you cannot just foist the charges of conspiracy, and you cannot incarcerate him for an indefinite period.
But we see now that there is a lot of media attention of them. Does this media attention affects this case in the court?
Yeah, I mean, media attention I believe that media trials can actually hamper a case also to a large extent at times. So, but in this particular case, I feel that more than media, of course, yes, things the NCB also raised a lot of allegations against the accused people. But then somehow we managed to get them out. It was a great achievement for all of us because this case had become very serious.
There are
new developments. There are new developments in the case on daily basis. If you can see, on everyday basis, there are new developments in that case. And I during my arguments, I clearly mentioned that for my client specifically, that this case is a clear case of malicious prosecution. Right. No recovery, unnecessary, without any medical test. No medical test was conducted no medical test was conducted to corroborate whether he has consumed ganja. And of course, I distinguished the role of my client from Aryan's role because the allegations against my client and Aryan was similar. So I distinguished the role, and then I destroyed the theory of conspiracy. And and of course, and none of them had antecedents. My client had no antecedents. So I even mentioned how long incarceration can actually make him a hardened criminal in the company of hardened criminals, which will hamper his life and career. And so that's how it all happened.
So, do you think this media, जो cases बताती है, they used to manipulate the cases more than like it was?
Manipulate? No, I don't feel so. I don't think they do manipulate, but yes, sometimes they do cover things a little dramatically, and they do sensationalize things in a different way, different manner. Sometimes, yes, for the sake of TRPs, they do. I mean, I believe that media should be responsible while covering stories, and especially such grave cases, sensitive cases. They should act responsibly.
And there are many questions from the Mumbai University student. So, Nigar Fatima says that you are a young advocate. What suggestion would you like to give to students who aspire to be a lawyer?
Yes. So, passion is very important. It's extremely essential that you follow your passion. If you're passionate, if you're determined, and if you're focused and strong-headed, I think you'll achieve it. Sure. And it is very important to be resilient also. And overcome small difficulties, at the same time, to work under pressure, to be able to perform under pressure. All these qualities will, of course, help you in the long run.
But Sana, Muslim kids in our local areas often remain ignorant about the importance of education. How important is to be educated according to you?
It's extremely essential, I believe, because education, educated men and women are the agents of change.
Right.
Educated and empowered women also, for that matter, they can rise in the social standing. They can even feed the future generation, and they can certainly contribute, to the economy of the country later. So education, I believe, is extremely essential, and it's important no matter what career path you choose in the future. But it is very important to pursue education first, to complete your education first, so that you have something to fall back on in the future.
So
a degree to fall back on.
I do have a question that what trouble are faced by a student in law school, and how one overcome them?
Troubles as in, yes, of course there are some subjects which are a bit, tricky and difficult. So, as in, but then what I believe is that, this rote learning is something that should be certainly eradicated, from schools at every level. I think this, conceptual learning, this should be introduced in every school. Government should take a baton in their hands to actually introduce the whole theory of conceptual learning to so that students should not memorize things. They should understand. They should understand the whole concept so that things are clear. Because if your basic is strong, it is very easy for you to actually
like maths.
Yes, it is very easy for you to excel in the future in that particular field. So I believe for law students, I believe that if you're interested, the most important thing is interest. If you have the interest to become a lawyer, you'll automatically develop the interest to study as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and when you're studying, you're understanding the subject, you're understanding the concept. It becomes very easy for you in the future also when you're pursuing when you become a lawyer, to fight for the right causes, to stand up for the right causes, to ensure that justice prevails.
And what are some of the talents and abilities that one should have to be a good lawyer?
To be a good lawyer, yes, you have to be very feisty, when it comes to standing for the right causes, even if that means standing alone. You've got to have that, conviction, debate, and you've got to have that conviction. You've got to have that attitude, that okay, even if I have to have a different approach, like if you don't have to follow the crowd, you have to have that attitude of carving your own niche on your own. You have to do it like that kind of attitude. You have to be very strong-headed. resilient, like how I've already mentioned earlier also. You've got to be resilient.
So you decided like I wanna be a lawyer.
See, the thing is, I come from a family of lawyers. My father is also a lawyer. So when I was a kid, of course, there was no such thing like, oh, I'll grow up and I'll become a lawyer. But then gradually I developed interest. You know, this quote that be the change you wish to see in the world has really inspired me. I mean, of course, if you want to see that, I mean, what better profession than this to bring the revolutionary change in the world? So, and also, you know, in this profession, I get the opportunity to, you know, help the underprivileged, to help the marginalized and, you know, vulnerable section of the society, to ensure, I get the opportunity to ensure that justice prevails. I get the, you know, I get the opportunity to do a lot of things, like, you know, to it's a very powerful profession. So I believe, you know, to help those sections who have been shunned by the society. So I think, you know, it's a very underrated profession, though it is an extremely powerful profession, and I'm truly proud to be in this profession.
And on this note, I do have a question from Ashish Belalkar. He says, like, is it tough for first generation women lawyer to carve their path in legal field without having any godfather?
No, I don't agree to that. Though I'm not a first generation lawyer, but I believe that, you know, if you're dedicated and if you are, you know, if you have that conviction and the passion, which I've already mentioned, passion is extremely essential. I think it doesn't matter you're a first generation lawyer or a second generation lawyer. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is your talent, your skill, your ability to pick up things, your ability to, you know, move forth, and, you know, your ability to that drive is very important. That passion should be there.
So Sana, how do you see this field of law basically for women? Are there any unique challenges for women?
Challenges, like, you know, women do continue to face challenges in all walks of life worldwide. But then, of course, women are blessed with superpowers also,
Right,
to,
right.
you know, just
Because
to take
as
it
a
in their
superpower,
stride.
because you are handling the case of Mr. Gujjar, the encounter case.
Yes,
So
yes.
how about that? Like, because as a woman doing this kind of high-end case.
Sandeep Gadoli encounter case
Right.
you're talking about. Yes. Yeah, so basically it's just a case for me, you know. You may call it an encounter case, you may call it a murder case, but for me, I work equally hard on all my cases. And yes, this encounter case, of course, it's a challenge, but then
These fake cases, fake encounter case.
fake encounter case, yes. Sandeep Gadoli fake encounter case, yes. It is a challenge, but it is very essential that, you know, I ensure that my client gets justice if he's been falsely implicated, you know, when he has no role.
Right.
So I would like to ensure that, you know, justice prevails. So for cases, I would say that, you know, I equally dedicate myself to all cases equally, and I work hard on all my cases. And, you know,
How was it
after a
what was a
point,
difficult case for you? This one fake encounter case was difficult or some other case?
no, difficult as in, no, I mean, more than difficult, there's no such thing like
Just like, for
difficult.
example, there's an difficult surgery for a doctor of a knee replacement or a heart surgery or something. Just like an opposite way, just like a lawyer having a difficult case or something like that.
Yeah, but
Then
you
after
know,
somehow
but-
it becomes a win-win situation.
But, you know, diamonds are made under pressure.
Right.
So of course we tend to deal with you know, cases, difficult cases, sometimes even far more difficult cases on day-to-day basis. But then, you know, this is what gets us going, you know, pressure. You know, you should actually have that ability to enjoy the pressure also, enjoy your work. You know, so then you will not actually view it as a difficulty. You will view it as a challenge, and then you will view it as an opportunity. So the difficulty is actually, you know, replaced as an opportunity in your head, and then you would like to, you know, just take it in your stride. You would like to give your best to it. So that's how I view the cases that I get. You know, if it's challenging, you know, it's far better for us, because you know,
And so there's a women empowerment question as well as a social media awareness question, which I have merged in a one player question basically. So we'll take that question as well.
yes, sure.
Alright. Okay. Neha Kapoor says, like, do you think that we are presenting our private life too extensively on social media?
Yes, some people do that. I mean, if you ask me personally, I don't really do that. But yeah, But I think there's no harm as long as one is not intruding in somebody's privacy or private
If
life.
someone's talking and in the comment section below, if someone is writing abusive comments and all
Yes,
that,
yes.
so
Okay, but it's very important for people to actually be aware of aware of the legal repercussions of cyberbullying. There are so many people who are not even aware. Section 67 of the Information Technology Act clearly provides punishment. Prescribes punishment for for posting for posting objectionable and objectionable post. What do you call it?
violence or vulgar posts or kind of
But-
this one. Because people, for example, so there's a person who writes any vulgar statement in Instagram's comment section below or YouTube section below, so people mostly avoid. So what do you think, that they should avoid or they should take action?
Obviously action should be taken, and freedom of expression is actually misused to a large extent.
Right.
And people should be aware of the legal repercussions of posting vulgar comments, because section 67 of the Information Technology Act prescribes punishment for publishing and transmitting obscene materials online.
Okay.
Punishment for up to 5 years. So they must be aware of the legal repercussions also, and I believe even far more stringent laws should be introduced for such kind of acts, because it is very important to use social media carefully. And these people who post such vulgar comments, for them it's very easy to do that, but
Right.
yeah, it's very easy, but then the legal consequences could be really harsh on them, and they should be aware of it, and they should really use the social media carefully. And I believe that yes, I
But
believe
90% people used to avoid this kind of stuff.
yeah, because
अगर
nobody.
बोल रहे हैं तो बोलने दो, it doesn't matter.
Yes, that attitude is also correct to
But
quite
this
an
attitude
extent.
gives
To a
the
certain
enhancement
extent.
to them,
But
no?
to a certain extent, this attitude is correct. But if it goes beyond a point, after some time, one can tolerate to a certain limit.
Certain limit, right.
Beyond a point, obviously, if it becomes too harsh, then that invites an action, and that certainly invites legal
So
consequences.
how much time you would be on Instagram or Facebook and all that?
My work is really time consuming, so I seldom get time, so I'm not a really social media person, and I think overindulgence in anything is bad.
Right.
So, and it's very important, to focus on your work, and to balance that kind of that equation. That first you should finish your work and important work, and social media is something that you can give time to social media after you're done with your important work. And
Right,
for
right.
kudos to those who are actually using social media constructively. If they're promoting their business on social media, or if they're coming up with social apps and hence they're doing
But there
it,
is no
that's
censorship,
fine.
because one more question is that there is no censorship on social media. People write absolutely something vulgar. So there should be a censorship
Yeah,
or
if
regarding
it
some
is
words and all
introduced,
that.
if censorship is introduced, there's nothing like it. It would be really cool if it is introduced. But I believe, yes, people are actually having an attitude presently that, okay, just ignore to an extent, as long as they can. But of course, if it goes beyond a point, people must take an action against those people who actually use
Right.
such vulgar comments, because they're really cowards who can just sit there and write, vulgar
And
comments.
moreover, fake IDs and all
Yeah, fake IDs,
that. Why? I think jealousy or something. I don't know.
insecurity or something probably.
So there's a person. What's his name? Okay, Vaishali Chaubey. She asks, the young generation is greatly addicted to social media. What would you like to tell them? I think because of the parents are very busy. They used to give the iPads and iPhone to their kids and all that, and they are very busy on saying
That's incorrect. Yes, I believe for students especially, I believe that they should not get addicted to social media, because while you're a student, it's very important that you focus on your studies. You focus on your goals, and to have a goal, and to focus on your passion. It's very important. So for students, spending too much time on social media could actually be harmful for them.
Right.
But otherwise, for people who are using social media constructively, like I've already mentioned, constructively for promoting their business, or for if they're coming up with a social app. So for them, I don't see any harm. But yes, for students, I think parents should not let them have access to the social media, without any limit. Of course, you should set out a limit. Like you should give them. I would suggest.
For example, mobiles and all that.
I would suggest that you can fix a particular time, like after you're done with your studies, after you're done with your your work, and so like a reward, you can just let them use social media for 10-15 minutes by the end of the day when you're done with your studies and you're done with your work. So that would be a cool idea, like a reward. On probably that could act as a
But
reward
people used to say thanks to COVID, because of this COVID, people shifted to the Zoom, and all the classes, lectures are taken on Zoom. So they have get this permission granted that okay, be on mobile phones and all that kind of stuff. So they have access to the Instagram as well. And parents doesn't know. Parents are okay. What's you're doing? I'm on a Zoom meeting, on a Zoom call, but they are on Instagram and all.
Yeah, that also happens. COVID has actually done that as well. Limited access is very important. Anything beyond a limit or overindulgence in anything, I believe, is bad. So it's very important, for parents to inculcate that ingrained habit in their children, that studies first, focus on your studies first.
But we then compare it with Western countries and all that. Western countries and all that. With Western countries, kids are more advanced as compared to Indian kids.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true.
Because there's a question, Sana, social media has become the reason of uneasiness, hyperactivity and depression in young people. And how can they control these negative impacts?
I think not taking social media seriously is very essential.
Right.
If you are taking social media very seriously, you're under peer pressure that okay.
सोने से पहले मेरे को reels डालना ही डालना है.
So that kind of pressure is not required. I mean, the pressure on your head for a student, if you're a student, is that you should actually that you're done with your studies by the end of the day. You must do well in your exams, you must perform well in your career. That should be your focus, and not really doing this you have to post this reel,
kind of
that kind of pressure. Yeah, that kind of pressure. And TikTokers to have their own business, and they're doing business.
No business. TikTok is banned now.
So. TikTok is banned now in India, only in India. But for people who are actually promoting their business on social media, I would not really comment against them, because that's their strategy. There's nothing wrong. But I'm here, for uneasiness. I think you're saying it in a context for students, or for those people, who actually who project their life in a particular manner on social media, and who actually believe in the world of social media. It is very important that you don't take social media seriously. Social media is just social media. It's very important that you have a social life instead.
So what message you want to give to those moms who are watching you right now?
Yes, limited access to your children. I mean, it's very important that you fix a particular time limit for your children for using social media. So, because as I've already mentioned, overindulgence is not good, and for those young people also, for students also, do not take social media so seriously. Have an active social life instead.
Right.
So social media should not be taken too seriously, actually.
And do you think women are considered weaker than men?
I don't really think so. This regrets.
Because you are an example of women empowerment. Because why I ask this question? Because you're a lawyer, alright? So you are the example of women empowerment, and how you would be empowering the kind of other women basically. Because this question, who someone asks is like, Sana, why do you think women are considered weaker than men? आज भी लोग ये कहीं ना कहीं मानते हैं.
No, I feel this regressive mindset is now changing.
True. Thanks to Digital India.
Yes, because I believe that women are blessed with a superpower to give birth to a new life. So of course their physical, their mental and their emotional strength is incomparable. I believe they are they're super strong, and they're excelling in every walk of life. Right. So it's very evident that women are super strong. So this regressive mindset is now changing, and these barriers have collapsed, gender barriers.
True. Also women are always judged by their beauty and not by their work. So what is the reason behind this mentality, according to you?
Again, perhaps initially beauty, one may notice the beauty perhaps, but with time, of course, women will get appreciated for their talent, their skill, their hard work, for their dedication. So once the skill and the talent sets in, beauty takes a back seat. So I believe that, of course, talent and hard work and dedication is far more important, and it does get recognized, it does get appreciated.
I'll try, Sana, 100% sure that I give a seminar on women empowerment and also for the law students as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can conduct that seminar.
Inshallah, I'll call you on that as well.
Sure.
All right, thank you for coming, Sana. Thank you so much. Thank you.